Hello and thank you for joining me. For those new to the channel, my name is Alan, not Frank, and today's video is about items of kit that I still repeatedly see people putting in their go bags, putting in their get home bags, because they've seen other people do it, and to put it bluntly, some of the items are not fit for purpose. Stay with me. Items that I've actually binned. I'm as guilty as everyone else. We want the best quality, the lightest product for the cheapest price. And unfortunately, for 99%, it doesn't work that way. Emergency poncho. They're still being put in people's go bags, get home bags, survival kits. And the argument is they don't cost a lot, very small, don't weigh a lot. Problem is, when you wear it, if you get a gust of wind, you're going to be doing Marilyn Monroe impersonations, you know, when the wind blew up her dress. And the other thing is, they are so thin. This one, the thickness is not much more than a nappy sack. Oops, I've just put my thumb through it. So it saved me £1.50, £2, £3, whatever it is. I'm not going to carry it. I'm not going to give that company my money. In the UK, it's going to be the same, you know, whatever country you're from, primarily. But in the UK, if they say it's going to be sunny, it's going to rain. If they say it's going to rain harder. We're always going to have rain. So the first thing to do is make sure that you check the weather forecast and you dress accordingly to what you expect the weather to do. And you can get perfectly serviceable and usable waterproof jackets that don't cost an arm and a leg. I'm not talking Gore-Tex or some super duper fabric. Just Peter Storm, Regatta, Trespass, and probably loads of other manufacturers make packable waterproof jackets. Okay, they don't breathe as well, so you're going to get a little bit of sweat in there, but they will, for showers, keep you dry. They are a lot more robust than walking around in a nappy sack, and it's not a one-time use item. A lot of them pack up into a little stuff pack, and they're going to be smaller when they're packed and compressed than a 1 litre drinking bottle, and they don't weigh a great deal. So bin the poncho, yeah, the disposable poncho, and just buy a waterproof jacket. Next item up, and I've been giving this so much thought, it has actually kept me up at night, because I bought quite a few of these, and I have them in kits. I had them in kits. And that is these things. The emergency bivvy, Mylar sleeping bag. You know the height, I say Mylar reflects 70 to 90% of your body heat back, blah, blah, blah. Yes, it does. But emergency sleeping bag doesn't work, and potentially it can kill you. Am I being dramatic? Don't think so. Cheap as chips, £8. Everyone's sticking them in their packs again, thinking, you know, they're fantastic, that's going to get me out of trouble. It isn't. If they were that good, sleeping bag manufacturers would be out of business, wouldn't they? The main problem with this type of emergency sleeping bag is it doesn't breathe. So what happens is, you climb into it, you heat the air up that's trapped inside it, because it's reflecting your heat back, and you feel very, very toasty very, very quickly, and potentially you're going to overheat very, very quickly if you've still got all your clobber on. Then what happens is, as the temperature, the outside temperature drops, which it will overnight, you've got the dawn dip and everything else, you then have the problem of condensation, and there will be a lot of condensation. Because you've got a warm area inside, cold area outside, condensation's formed. And you might be thinking, well, that doesn't really bother me. I don't mind being a bit soggy as long as I'm warm. Fair dues. You want to come out of it looking like a crinkled chip, that's up to you. The big problem is if it lasts the period that you haven't ripped a hole in it, and then all your body heat's escaped and it defeats the object. If you've been in it overnight, 6 hours, 8 hours, however long you're in it, and you get out, you're going to be soggy. And as soon as you get out, you're going to start to get cold because you're soggy. Water cools us down, doesn't it? When we're really hot, splash water on you, cools you down. Hypothermia is real, and it hasn't got to be freezing out there for you to start down that horrible trail of getting hypothermia. Hypothermia can set in at any temperature below 10 degrees Celsius. And in the UK, for 3/4 of the year, overnight temperatures are pretty much on that border or below. Now, accept the fact that you're also soggy, you're wet from the condensation, and the temperature outside, you are now going to cool off and get cold even quicker. If there's a bit of wind, you've got wind chill, so that 9, 8 or 9 degrees, if there's a bit of wind and you're soaking wet, it's going to feel like 4 degrees. And if you can't dry off and get warm, you're going downhill. Hence, bin. Now there are other alternatives. SOL do a breathable bivvy, same sort of basis, mylar based. Have a look, there's a picture there for you to have a look at. Admittedly it says it's out of stock, look at the price, might be an expensive dealer, but there you go, 63 quid. And again, it's something really primarily that is a temporary thing. I've not tried one, but I can't personally see it for that cost of money being much bottle. I think there are better alternatives. This is an Alp kit, that's the manufacturer, Hunker, not the XL, just the Hunker. It is a bivvy bag. It is a proper bivvy bag. It's not Gore-Tex, but it is multi-membrane and they work. They've been knocking them out for years. They are one of the best bivvy bags you can buy for the money. They are much more robust than trying to sleep in a crisp packet. They are 99.99% waterproof. The hydrostatic head on these are something ridiculous. I think it's something like 20,000 or something like that. When you think the average tent is like 2,000 hydrostatic head. I personally slept out in the land of the wet in Wales because, my own fault, I was too lazy to put a basher up because there was a limited space because there was a group of us. So I literally bungeed a poncho over my rucksack and I was in a bivvy bag. It rained that hard that the river that we were fairly close to rose 3 foot. It was absolutely mental. I was dry as a bone. I got nicknamed the Slug. The only time I got wet was as I had to exit it and it was still raining. Yeah, so lesson learned. Even if you think you don't need overhead cover, stick something up. So, bivvy. Don't bother farting about with the so-called emergency bivvies. This is for your survival, and if you take your survival seriously, then invest in something decent. I've now got a proper bivvy bag in my get-home bag. Not an emergency one, a proper one. I know money's tight, but as I just showed with the SOL that said it was 63 quid, well that's out of stock, 54 quid. Okay, it's a bit bigger. Still under 400 grams in weight. It's your survival, it's your life. Think about where you're putting your money. As I said at the beginning, we all like cheap and shiny. But for your survival, think about it. If you're going to go into a pound shop or something like that and buy a Swiss Army knife knockoff that's £3, do you honestly believe the quality and the standard of steel that's used is going to be any way near that of something like a Swiss Army knife, the genuine item? It's not. Swiss Army knife, the hiker, perfectly good tool, £21, and if you look after it, it will last you for years. Same as all these things, I keep seeing adverts popping up for Temu. Is it Temu? Snazzy pair of trainers, 87p. Yeah, really, okay. There is no such thing as a free dinner. This stuff is, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion because I won't spend my money there, the majority of the stuff is substandard rubbish. It is not going to last. And if you're in a survival situation where it is your life that's on the line, you are going to kick yourself for spending pence on an item that you should have spent pounds on. And it's the same with knives. They do some beautiful looking knives, you know, sexy, shiny, that's going to, you know, see me through the apocalypse. Is it? It's unbranded. Why is it unbranded? Is it because the manufacturer won't put their name to it? What recourse have you got if it's rubbish? You're going to send it back to China perhaps at your cost? Are they ever going to admit to receiving it? I'm not saying that all traders are dodgy, but why do that when you can buy? This is the more a companion. It has its limitations. It's from a company that has got years and years of experience banging these out. They're highly regarded within the bushcraft and survival scene, and they're £15. So you can go and spend £5 on something that looks sexy and you're going to go out there and slay zombies with it, and it's probably, the metal's probably as soft as toffee and it's going to fall apart, not hold an edge, whatever. Or £15, which isn't expensive for a knife, and have something that's actually proven. And yes, as I said, it's got limitations. It hasn't got a 90-degree spine on the back and it's not full tang. So you're not going to go trying to batten your way for a telegraph pole with it, are you? But you could either ask your dad, your granddad, if you're not comfortable doing it yourself, or do it yourself, or a neighbour, and get a file and put a 90-degree edge on the back. It's not hard, and then it's going to work that little bit better for you. So have that. Don't buy this unbranded rubbish that no one's really done any quality assurance with and no one's field tested them. Same with wooden, you know, wood cutting saws. And I've done it. I'm not being snobby. I've been where a lot of you have been or are. I've decided, oh, I need a saw for survival. And I picked one up in Wilco's for £8. And then the second time I actually went to use it, it broke. Now, if I was using that in anger, if that was a real survival situation and it broke, I'm stuffed, aren't I? You know, I've got a blade with no handle on it, or a broken blade, whatever. Barco Laplander, there are other knives out there, or sorry, saws, you know, Silkies, never used them. Barco Laplander. It's been around for donkey's years, and there's a reason it's been around for that long. Because it is perfectly acceptable. If you can't sort yourself out with those two tools, then you're not going to sort yourself out at all. This one I've had for probably over a decade. It is well worn. I cut a tree down in the garden with it. It was only around, the trunk was around that diameter. It was about 20 foot tall, and my stupidity really, because I didn't think about it, and as I was cutting it, the weight of the tree come down and squashed the blade. As a consequence of that, I mean, I did cut the tree down, it was fine, but as a consequence of that, it has now got some excessive up and down travel. So I gave it to the good lady. It's fine for using in the garden. But in saying that, I bought a new one to replace that one because I thought I'd obviously damaged it. And this is a new one that has seen zero use at the moment. And this also has a little bit of play in it, but nothing compared to that. So what I'm saying is, yeah, times are hard, you're watching your pennies. If you need a saw, save your £8. Don't buy the cheap unbranded one that you think's gonna do the task. If you can, save up and get a Barco lap blander. Or one of the Silkies. I've never used them, I'm not particularly keen on them, for a survival kit or a go bag, that sort of thing. I don't see that living in the UK that I have a need to carry a saw that when it's open it's 3 foot long or whatever. I know they do small ones. But the Barco lap blander, not being funny, if it's good enough for Mr. Ray Mears and everyone else that's followed his path for the last 20 years, then it is most certainly good enough for me and for you to have in your survival kits. I've noticed also a number of videos that are popping up on YouTube, and it's like the best 20 survival items on Amazon that you must buy. And then you look at the thumbnail and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking it looks like a Chinese martial arts throwing star with screwdriver attachments and that all around it. And I'm thinking, gosh, why is that a survival item I must buy? So there's a few items that are being put up as survival items, and no, I won't buy them, and to be honest I look at them and I think they're gimmicky, and at the end of the day all it is, they want you to give them your money, and obviously they're smiling all the way to the bank, and you are left with, in my opinion, potentially substandard equipment that is a gimmick and not fit for task. Multi-tools, another one. Go on Amazon, yeah, okay, you can get a multi-tool for a tenner. Is it going to last? Do the jaws line up on the pliers? Is the steel adequate? Or is the cutting edge so soft that it just rolls over after you've used it once? Then of course you've got Gerber, slightly better. I am going to say that I've owned a few Gerbers and I actually find the quality quite shocking. Admittedly, they're the smaller ones and the cheaper ones. They're okay at a push, but I wouldn't want to rely on it. The Leatherman, I've got a couple of Leathermans. Yes, quality, pucker. Cost, horrendous. There is a company, Beebury, however you want to pronounce it. I've got 3 of their multi-tools. They are not cheap as chips. They are clones of Leatherman, but these people are brave enough to put their name on it, and when you look at the reviews on Amazon of people that have actually bought it, not these Vine customers that give reviews because they were given the item free of charge, so you're not necessarily getting a realistic review. These are rated highly. This one here I haven't had that long. It is a Leatherman Surge clone. I think they're advertised, this is advertised 60 odd quid, which is expensive, but every so often they put a 50% sale on it and you can pick it up for 30 quid. For 30 quid, it's well worth it. It's big and bulky, okay, it's got locking blades, so UK EDC is an issue, but the quality, in my opinion, is very, very good. Not as good as Leatherman, not far off. Would I want to spend 130 quid on a multi-tool? Perhaps. Will this 30 quid multi-tool do the same thing? Absolutely. And as I say, this is a copy. It's even got, so for instance, that's the file, and it all unclips. Until I haven't done this very often, can't you? So you can actually unclip it and you can take the file out. It comes with wood saw and a metal saw, so it clips in there, and your screwdriver bits, and spare teeth or spare cutting edges removable, same as a Leatherman on the pliers. You get a spare of that. So if you can't stretch to a Leatherman, then check out Beebury, however you pronounce it. Look at the reviews, wait for them to be on sale, and if you're in the market for a multi-tool, then I would recommend these. Everything that I'm recommending or suggesting has come out of my money, and I'm not giving anything to review. It's stuff that I've paid my money for. Next thing, ferro rods. I still am not keen on these big, massive ferro rods. I know loads of people say they're excellent. If I was going down the lines or building something like an inch kit, or I was an avid bushcrafter and I was spending weeks and weeks and weeks out doing it, then yes, fine. But if you're building a kit for a get-home bag or a go bag, and let's be honest, the majority of the survival scenarios are 24 to 168 hours of duration, so you know, a day to a week. Do you need that? No, not really. You could get away with that type. It's got to make plenty of fires, thousands of fires still. Half the weight, not as big. However, because these big boys don't come with a handle on them, and the go-to thing is wrap duct tape around it, which is fine, when I use it, I can't just grip the bit with the tape on because I haven't got a good grip. So I'll end up holding it with my thumb over the top, which is, I don't know if you can see there, but you can see the wear marks where I've used it. So I'm only actually using half of the ferro rod. With the more regular size ones, I can actually hold the handle. And when I'm holding them, the amount of area that's available for striking is the same. Admittedly, these are a thicker diameter, so it's a larger surface area to throw more sparks. But for your for your go bags, get home bags, you don't need one of them. One of them is fine, or even one of them. Compasses. Why do you want to spend 20 quid? They can get them slightly cheaper. 25 plus. For say a silver compass, when you can buy something that looks exactly the same for 4 quid, that's unbranded and comes straight out of China with negligible quality control. And I'm not talking about the needle facing the wrong way, because that can happen to the silver, as it did with me with a recent purchase, and a magnet bonked and it sorted. What I'm talking about is the reason that cheapy one's 4 quid and the silver is 20 odd quid is, again, it's got a brand on there. There's been research and development, and they have, for want of a better word, got a reputation. If silver consistently knocked out rubbish, then it's going to be very damaging to their business. The company that's banging out the unbranded stuff, who are you going to moan about? It's unbranded. You can go back to the retailer, but you can't, you know what I mean? The manufacturer doesn't care about what, you know, their reputation. It's unbranded, so it doesn't matter. And the problem is, it might work. A lot of the cheaper ones, the pointer is not a very good, or not as good a steel as perhaps in the silver. So for it to be magnetised, the pivot point is like a little pin that sits in a divot, and that's what rotates. The quality control, the tolerances on that are not going to be as good, so it won't move as freely. And as you can see in a photo, or sorry, a picture that's about to pop up, I bought a number of button compasses a while ago to put into kits. And there's a picture of 9 compasses there, and you can see that there is quite a variation in where they want to point. And if you're travelling over a short distance, it doesn't matter so much if your compass is off a bit. If you're travelling, but the further you're travelling, that deviation is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So again, if you're taking all this seriously, that you know, the reason you're carrying this stuff is potentially to keep you alive, then don't scrimp. You can pick up a silver compass for about 10 quid. So yeah, it's twice the cost of the unbranded took. But you owe it to yourself. If you're doing this for survival, to save yourself, spend the money. The last thing, water bottles. Whenever I put a video up, survival kits or whatever, and I'm not having a knock, because I appreciate the comments that I receive on the channel, But there's usually someone that will come along and say, you should have a metal bottle. Because again, it's something that someone's come up with, explained the pros, and then everyone's jumped on the bandwagon. So, let's just say this. If I was only carrying a water bottle, be it this one, Nalgene one, or unbranded ones, if it's the only vessel that I was carrying, then yes, I'd want stainless steel, single-walled stainless steel. Because I can take the lid off, put the water into the embers of a fire, and treat the water that way through boiling. However, if I'm carrying a cup or a mug or, you know, a pot and a canteen, I don't need it to be metal, do I? British Army issue Osprey 58 pattern water bottle, holds a litre, wide mouth, bulletproof. I can collect dirty water in this. I can pour it in my mug, stick it in the embers, make it drinkable. So I don't need a metal bottle, do I? Not when I've got a cup. Yeah, Nalgene, excellent make, nothing wrong with that. In the UK, a Nalgene stainless steel bottle's 30 odd quid. Osprey, 58 pattern, British Army, issue, water bottle. This design has not changed in over 50 years. They have banged out absolutely millions of them. It works, nothing wrong with it. Just putting that out there. So you don't always need to carry a metal bottle unless it is the only vessel that you're carrying. And finally, the last bit, and I don't mean this to be all negative, to be honest. I'm doing it to try and save you money in the long run. And the last little bit, sleeping bags. I'm seeing a lot of comments, you know, people, you go to buy a sleeping bag. I don't know what it's like in the States, but in the EU and in the UK, there are normally 3 temperature ratings for a sleeping bag. Extreme, comfort, and upper limit, something like that. The upper limit, we're not too fussed about, are we really? Because if it's really hot, if we're in a 4-season sleeping bag and it's 30 degrees outside, it stands to reason you're going to get too hot, so you're going to have to unzip it and lay on top of it, whatever. So the two temperature ratings that people are more interested in are the comfort and the extreme, because you want to know if you're going to be warm as the temperature drops. That's the important bit. People get caught up with the extreme. They have a sleeping bag, it might be a 2 or 3 season sleeping bag, and they think it's a dog's danglies because it says extreme -17 or whatever, and they expect to stay warm. So they'll go camping in it and it'll be -2, and they'll wake up and they think, bloody hell, I'm freezing cold, but oh, my bag said -17. No, it's extreme. And what extreme means, it is the temperature that a woman, because women generally sleep colder than men, so the test is done on a female, it is, the rating has to keep the female alive for 6 hours. But I won't say the victim, but the casualty, if you like, the lady, the female that the test is based on, will have cold related injuries. So just bear that in mind. Extreme, is at what temperature it will potentially keep you alive at for 6 hours. It is not the temperature that you will be toasty and get 8 hours kipping. That's it. No more to moan about, and I hope you haven't taken it as me just moaning. I don't do snobbery with kit. I don't always, or try not to push a particular brand, because we all have, you know, different amounts of money that we can spend on our gear. But please try to stay away from the unbranded took that looks good, and do some research and buy stuff that people have used. And when I say used, I don't mean, oh, Fred's just done 24-hour survival in the woods, this is what he took. Most people can just walk out their street door in their normal outdoor clothes, find a bit of woods, that, you know, with a bit of shelter, provided it's not piddling down or snowing obviously, and still be alive the next day. Just putting that out there. If you like the content, then please consider subscribing. Give us one of them, hit the notifications, and stay safe. It is going to be 21 degrees today apparently. We'll see. Have a great day. See you later.